amazing stuff they're working on. This week I'm talking to DarlingDemonEclipse, aka Eclipse, about her upcoming TTRPG, SapphicWorld. We dive into a number of her other works as well, but I'll let us explain it a little bit later. And I want to take a moment at the top of the show. If you're very active in the TTRPG community, you've likely heard the news. You've likely heard what happened at Itch about 2 weeks ago. Itch removed and de-indexed a number of games and works and novels that featured adult themes and adult content. Itch says that this was at the request of their payment processors, and people have been calling and protesting those payment processors since then. At the top of the show notes, you'll find a link to all the information that you need to call PayPal, Stripe, MasterCard, Visa, whoever you choose, to tell them that you personally are against their decision to control the things that you're able to buy with your money. This is something that the payment processors have done multiple times over the last decade, and this is just a new vector for it. It feels terribly fitting that between me recording this interview and me posting this interview, this is what happened. And Eclipse did let me know that at least one of their games was de-indexed as part of this. Itch has said multiple times they are working to find a new payment processor that will be comfortable managing this sort of content. And that's such a weird sentence to have to say out loud that I think I might scream. But before I do that, let's get to the interview.
I like how I couldn't tell whether your Discord avatar thing was going to be Sonic and Knuckles or Jedi and Sith until the little symbol showed up. You
really have to wait. Yeah, it really makes you wait for it. You're like, hang on, what is this related to? And then a little shadow pops out and you're like, got me. Damn.
What the fuck am I doing?
You know, I know that wasn't posed to me, but yeah, I know. Yeah. Yeah. I feel that. I had that the other day. I was in the middle of doing something. I was like, what the fuck am I doing right now?
Well, I'm thinking about the show, what you're doing, and I'm like, what am I doing?
I interviewed Anna Hollenrake not that long ago, and I did like the little intro, and she did her whole thing, and she's like, and that's what I'm doing, and I was like, you're the first person to answer it, like you're the first person to take the form of the question and answer it, and that's a delight. Hi everybody, welcome to What You Doing podcast, the interview podcast where I talk to amazing people about the cool things that they're making. I think I flipped that. Oh well. Today I'm talking to Eclipse. Eclipse, say hi.
Hi, I'm Eclipse. She, they pronouns. I'm doing SapphicWorld and other strange and silly TTRPGs. So I'm hosting the Dovecoat TTRPG news and discussion show. And various other little things that I like to.
I love just the going down the little bullet list. Like, here's what I'm doing. It's this, and it's this, and it's this. There we go. I've been talking to Eclipse for a little bit to get them on the show. They are a wonderful, wonderful person that I've had the benefit to run across in the space. And with everything going on lately, it was one of those things that, hey, before we get too deep into it, I feel like we just need to address the elephant in the room. It's going to come up if you click the episode title. You saw it. It is what it is, right? Eclipse and I are going to use a word that, as members of the queer community, both of us feel comfortable using in this context. And if you are uncomfortable with the word being used in this context, you have two options. One is to understand the way that the word is being used and the context the word is being used and put aside your discomfort. And if you can do that, I appreciate you. And the second thing is, if you can't overcome your discomfort, is to not listen. I'm not going to begrudge anybody for doing that. Honestly, I appreciate you all the same. I'm not here to make anybody uncomfortable or to put anybody off. But the fact of the matter is, part of what Eclipse's whole thing, the whole reason that we're chatting today, is kind of that feeling and that discomfort and that space. And it's part of why I felt it was so important to have Eclipse on and to talk about all of this. So all of that out of the way. Eclipse, do you want to say it with me and we'll just pull the Band-Aid off?
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna say it.
Yeah, we're gonna say it. Oh God. 3, 2, 1. Faggot. There we go. We did it.
Yay!
Yay! It's not weird anymore.
A funny thing about Faggot is, so I was recording my acceptance awards, which, to be clear, I don't know if I've won yet. It is July 3rd when we're recording this. It's just something that they ask all nominees to do, and an element of that was I actually did an edit where I had I'll let people see the bit that I do if I win. It included this sound every time I said faggot. I was just like covering up the audio, and so
Beautiful.
I intentionally, in the script, I intentionally clouded part of it with just me saying Faggot Games in the faggot community from faggots who and so it's just like bam 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 bam. It was really fucking.
We love a bit. I love it.
I love a bit.
But yeah, this was a thing. So Eclipse is here partially. SapphicWorld, which I read yesterday, is a really interesting game, a really exciting game. It really grabbed me as I read it, and we'll get into it a little bit later. But Eclipse was nominated for a Crit Award for their blog post, Faggot Games and Urgency, which will be linked in the description. I really urge everyone listening to this podcast to read it and share it with your friends and understand what Eclipse is writing about and like what is being said. Because I don't get hung up on the word, guys, please. It's 2025. Because here's the thing. I wrestled with asking Eclipse on the show for like a month. I was like, I made a joke to a friend of mine who knows the two of us, and I made a joke, and I was like, what if I had Eclipse on and then I just bleeped every third word in the conversation? and yeah, and that's a good joke. And then I was like, well, you know what? Actually, what I should, and like that feels important. It feels important, like, and then it was that thing that just built, and I'm like, oh, now I gotta do it. Like I realized I've goofed myself into actually this is really important and maybe I should do this. So first off, now that we've got all that out of the way, Eclipse, thank you for being on. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, of course. I just wanted to. I don't know if you want to just like re-record yourself saying it. It's Faggot Games in Urgent Warning.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, Faggot Games
and Urgency.
In Urgent Warning. It's fine.
Yeah.
People will know what I mean. I had a whole thing where I talk about, live content versus pre-recorded content. We try to find a middle, and sometimes that means I mess up, and I just have to live with that in my heart.
Hell yeah. Bless. Love that for you. That's important. But yeah, Faggot Games and Urgent Warning kind of came out of specifically me reading Sage the Anagogue's Praise the Hawkmoth King, which is a TTRPG that is really kind of coming at sex and sexuality from an angle that is really like oriented around trauma and youth and like sort of the violence and sexual violence that's inflicted on young people. And so like as I was thinking about that game, I was realizing that like it's not necessarily kind of in the same it was not coming from the same sort of argumentative space or like thematic space as something like Thirsty Sword Lesbians, which I think is a game that I guess doesn't necessarily go far enough for me. And so I was like, I feel like we need a classification for this sort of like frontier of new work that's coming out that is really, really kind of expansive and kind of confrontational and antagonistic to sort of normal, or not normal, but conventional understandings of queerness in TVs. And so I was like, here are my reasons. Here's the vibe.
Mm-hmm.
Here's some things that are true about Faggot Games, and like here's my reasoning. Here's why you need to make these sorts of things. I don't necessarily think that making work that looks like that is activism or like necessarily that it can enhance anyone's condition besides encouraging them to make art of that sort or encouraging them to be more sexually liberated. But I do think it is like really useful, just in terms of like liberating folks, encouraging folks to be queer and open and sexual, and not sort of assimilate in advance. Sometimes like queer art can lean where there are kind of queer aesthetics. Like we decide that it would just be better to accept the aesthetic that has been kind of assigned to us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my point being, I saw a paradigm shift, and I kind of identified it as it was occurring. Mm-hmm. And I think, and I hope in doing so, and from what I've seen in doing so, have allowed a lot of people who wouldn't normally hop onto that paradigm shift to engage in it and to boys and have fun.
Mm-hmm.
Fun, nasty.
Well, and there's a really important distinction that I was talking to somebody about this, and I was like, there are queer games, and I think queer games can deal with a lot of different facets of identity and acceptance and what have you. What I think is so strong about calling it intentionally faggot games and using that word and shaping the language in that way is it pushes it. And I think you mentioned this in the blog post. And again, it's not that long. Just go read it. It pushes it to the far edge of it pushes it to the extreme. It pushes it to the far edge that is like, it is interested in these. It's not interested in like a small sliver, but is interested in presenting it in a very raw, nasty, if it needs to be, kind of critical way. In a way that I think in an artistic sense is great. I don't think the game, or arts, but specifically game is what we're talking about. The game that you make, having those two different themes in mind, are going to be very different.
Yeah, I've seen such like diversity and variety in sort of the faggot games that I've seen. I've seen things that are more oriented around computers and using those as a metaphor for sort of like non-penetrative or dynamic-oriented sex. I've seen stuff that has been just very direct and raunchy and about like characters with like a bunch of extra dicks or whatever. Like the direction that people decide to go in with Faggot Games as a core has been very different. And I've been really happy to see. Just keep a really wide umbrella for it, without watering down what.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's a big part of it is, I got the feeling from the blog post that it was a call to action and less a sort of distinction building. It's not to be a faggot game, it has to fit in this box, it has to meet these criteria, it has to check these boxes. It's like, hey, to be a faggot game means go all the way with it. Push it all the way to where you want it to be.
I have to toe a very fine line, because like I don't ever want to be like, I don't ever want to be like Thirsty Sword Lesbians is not a faggot game. Mm-hmm. Because I think it is a game that is faggy. It is a game that has a lot of like really faggy elements. I just don't think I think it could have gone further, mm-hmm. right? I think I would encourage people to make games like that to go. I think Ryui Smallbird in Toxic Sword Lesbians takes it a step. So yeah, I think it's less about, as you said, less about drawing a line and more about calling everyone towards the great burning horizon.
I will say your mic keeps dropping a little bit still.
So annoying.
I'm not sure what it is. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure. Maybe it's the gate. It might be the gate. Wah. Ah, wah, 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 wah. Hello, 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 hello. How's that?
It sounds better.
Okay. That was just me turning down the gate.
We'll see how it goes.
Okay, cool.
So what are, you mentioned a couple games in the initial blog post and the follow-up. What are some sort of recent Faggot games that you're excited about, that you feel like have the vibe? And then I think in a similar way, like, what are games like Thirsty Sword Lesbians that are like, ooh, almost there?
Yeah, I really, really like There Is No Self, There's Only You by Geostationary, a game that I think was kind of, as I mentioned, I think I was grabbing onto something that was already in motion. I think, Tintoy was already, Tintoy being the sort of short version, for short way to say the game's name. I think Tintoy was kind of already in motion when I wrote that blog post, but nonetheless, I think it's a really good one. Where is hang on, I want to look at the Faggot Games Jam because I have like specific thoughts on some of these. I would say just look at the games that were made for the Faggot Games Jam. There's some really, really good ones. Which ones? I really like Sandypuck Games, Nem's 20-something-year-old faggot. I think it's like really deeply personal. This is kind of calling on a friend's project, Living Breeding, which is a game where you print it out and then like impregnate a copy of it. I'm a really big fan of. I think it's really nasty.
That's great.
I think those are my big ones, and I just all these games are great, but I just wanted to kind of highlight those. And then in terms of games that are like not quite there, TSL is my big one. I think part of that is just like it is. Yeah, I think Evil Hat's great, but I think it is part of that that creature. I'd have to really think about games that I feel like don't quite go far enough. I'd have to like look at what I own, but that's definitely tricky because I think honestly, like I think there haven't been. Actually, wait, no, Oh, should I even talk about this? This is the thing I've never talked about. There's a queer TTRPG called Queers with a Z, that I think is really, really like in need of a deep faggotification. I think one issue that I have with that game in broad is just kind of the lack of trans femme representation in it. But it is also specifically a game that is like very interested in kind of similar to some of the settings in TSL, the sort of dynamic where it's like the cool queer heroes are fighting against the evil straight empire, and it's like I couldn't care less. It's so because the thing about like queer life is that you're not often like you are fighting against systems that are oppressing you and taking away rights and such, which I suppose is in some ways that, but day to day I feel like queer experience for me is more having trouble with other queer people and trouble with like ambient societal homophobia. And those are like trickier things to deal with than like a guy in a gray grayscale suit saying, "I'm straight man and I'm here to destroy all the drag shows in this town." so yeah, I think it's kind of a thing of just like I want when I see like queer focused TTRPGs that don't get into the nastiness, into the weeds, into like the way that like life and sex and intimacy for queer people can be as messy as it is for like cishet people. I feel like someone's given me a magic potion and I'm in fairyland, and I kind of want to go a little bit back down to earth. And I say this as like kind of a fantasist. Like when we talk about SapphicWorld, I am I am like the most fucking like. I want a realm, but I just don't want it to be a realm where I feel like someone's lying to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, even just a quick perusal of queers with a Z, which I'd never seen before. I am a big fan of Super Sentai and Power Rangers and that sort of thing. I hate that. In kind of a really gut. This is my first exposure to it. Boy, that's not it.
Yeah, I'm sure the people who made this are lovely people. It's just, I've done a read through with some friends in the past and had some conversations about it, and it doesn't do it for me. But I'm sure that also because of the scale of it, like it is probably another situation where, there are probably some corporate elements that are like holding things to a certain aesthetic and standard, and
yeah.
I'm really focused on trying to encourage people to make new and good and interesting art. Right. I try not to trash other people too much, but it is fun too.
Well, sometimes I think there's a really specific line, and I say this as a certified hater. I love hating the things that I hate. I think there's a really important and specific line between being a hater and like legitimately criticizing a thing with either if those are like legitimate criticisms, if there's something problematic or harmful or whatever, or just personal criticisms where it's like, wow, no, this just completely misses the vibe for something I would want for this. And I think that's important. I think it's important to recognize the line of, if Wizards of the Coast put out a queer TTRPG, I would talk shit about that without, I would not look at one minutia of it, and I would talk shit about it all day. And that's fine. That's being a hater. I would accept that. What I think you're doing with, bringing up, TSL is, you are seeing it in the sort of gradient of games and saying like, I think you could have been there. You could have been closer. You could have been something that we could point to and we could uphold in a way that would be closer to, these things that we're trying to champion. And it is just, it's just not there. It is just far enough off. And as a person who both, like I said, who both loves to critique and criticize and analyze and be a hater, it's important. It's important to know when you're doing one or the other.
Yeah, well, I think part of the thing for me is like, not to push back too much, but I do think part of it is like, I think that I'm not necessarily in making faggot games. I'm not necessarily interested in making art that is going to be upheld as like a proper model of queerness. I think I am more interested in, and maybe in the year like 2500, but I think now I'm interested in making work that is going to be stared at and gawked at and feared, because I think that like honestly on some level I think that like making other queer people contend with the fact that they are like a little disarmed by my work is as useful as creating work that is going to be something that they can uphold as like kind of effective and compelling representation.
I didn't mean you were holding the game up as a model of queerness. It was you were holding it up to the model or sort of ethos of Faggot Games specifically.
Oh yeah. Okay, that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah,
sorry about that.
No, it's fine. I just wanted to clarify. I just wanted to be like, that's not what I meant.
That makes
and
sense.
It's But yeah, I think that's a really important thing. Like I could probably, and I stand to like know more about the history of queer people in the US and sort of the art and movement and culture specifically that has brought us to, I don't want to say where we are. I would say where we were 5-6 years ago. And I think a lot of that, at least from what I've seen, has been based around not worrying about making straight people comfortable and has been more about self-expression and expressing the self and your feelings and the way whatever you want to express is. And that's part of why I thought this was, so important to bring up to have on the show as part of kind of the idea that I've had at the beginning, which is to have people that are doing cool things. And, I think this is a cooler thing than, let me make fantasy OSR game number 72.
Listen, I've taken some looks at fantasy OSR game number 72, and there's some characters in there that you're gonna love. They got a green guy. They got a green little goblin in there. He's got 1 HP and drops 1 gold.
Holy shit! 1 gold?
Yeah.
Back up. I do think it would be really funny. I do think it would be really funny if somebody made a game that was exactly the same as someone else's game, but everybody has their dicks out. So it's whatever, and everybody has their dicks out. There we go. All the time.
Quite that, but there is I believe it was Adam Seitz who kind of led this project. There was an Electrum Archive adventure for the Faggot Games Jam called The Ballad of Johnny 45 Dicks, Proof of Concept Edition.
All right, okay.
Which is a very, very fun little series of 3 adventures for Electrum Archive, where you are engaging with and hunting down and dealing with the consequences of the arrival of the vaunted and the hated Johnny 45 Dicks, who has 45 of them.
You know what I love? Just immediately, that's just a fact of the world. Just he has 45 dicks. It's not. It's
actually. It's really impressive how well they align it with the Electrum Archive setting, with fleshcraft and stuff, and like ink magic. It's really, they kind of did a banger job with it.
I have to look in. I'm gonna go look up the Faggot Game Jams after this, obviously.
I'm gonna send it to you.
Yeah, I love it. It's a thing that I love and appreciate with TTRPGs, when they're I don't know what I don't know, like a nice way to say this, but they're not cowards about it. It's like, yeah, his name is Johnny 45 Dicks. Why? You don't have to ask why he's called that. You don't have to know. You know immediately, and you know exactly what that means and how that's going to go.
Name's a pitch.
Yeah. Do you want to do you want to deal with Johnny 45 Dicks? And it's like, yeah, all right, we gotta stop him.
Yeah, I mean, or
whatever. I don't know. Whatever you get up to this adventure. Maybe you don't want to stop him. Maybe you have other plans for Johnny 45 Dicks.
There are some where you have to stop him, and it's really sad.
Oh, that's my new favorite character. I'm gonna be going to bed, and I'm gonna be like, I have to read the Adventures of Johnny 45 Dicks.
The art in there is really good too, because they're just like tentacles like coming out of his poncho, because he's like a cowboy too. He's got like a big hat, and it's all dicks under there. It's all
because he's a cowboy too. God, I love TTRPGs.
It's all just dicks. That was my girlfriend Lilith laughing as I showed her the 45 dicks of Johnny 45 Dicks.
I love games. Games are so stupid and good.
Sorry, they're coming out of his arm, which is even better.
just perpendicular,
yeah, just like they're just all swinging out of his arm.
He just
not
put him on there,
but like he has a sleeve, and then there's just dicks coming out. Really good.
I'm okay. I'll link. Listen, everything will be linked in the description. So if you're curious about the life and times of Johnny 45 Dicks, I also urge you.
All occurs around Titanport, which is a pretty cool Electrum Archive location, and it's like kind of tied into that area pretty well. So I highly recommend it.
I love the idea of having an NPC like Johnny 45 Dicks just exist in a setting.
Yeah, he's just there.
Yeah.
He's running around fucking everybody.
just one day you're like your players are like, yeah, we want to check, like, is there like a bounty board? Like, we need some money. Is there like, oh yeah, there's a wanted poster for this guy Johnny 45 Dicks, and everybody just like stopping, like, what? Say it one more time. Yeah, Johnny. Yeah, Johnny 45 Dicks. It's, yeah. What's wrong with that?
That's kind of what SapphicWorld's like in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
in a lot of ways.
Let's talk. We have to stop talking about Johnny 45 Dicks at a certain point. I have to stop myself.
That's good.
So let's talk about SapphicWorld. SapphicWorld, PBTA powered game. And I want to say at the top how much I love the you call it like it, what's the exact word you use, because I messed up a word previously and now I hate myself. The dream ash can, which I love because I really appreciate the way that it feels like the game, like it's incomplete, obviously, because it's an ash can, but it feels like the game was like disappearing as I was reading it. Like, I read like the whole class and then I was like, okay, well, let's dig into some classes. It feels like these are going to be, no, we're done. We're on to other things. Whoa, like, hang on. And I just got such a great vibe from reading it that it's like you couldn't play it off of this document, but also I feel like I could play a game of it just in vibes. Like, oh yeah, I know kind of I know what we're doing. I know where,
yeah,
and that's exciting. That's fun. It always excites me when I read something that immediately is just like, oh yeah, I could play this right now. Like if it ended with someone saying, do you want to play this? It's like, yes, let's do whatever's about to happen.
The Dream Ash can is interesting because it's old and I haven't updated in a while, and there's a lot of like really significant changes to the way the game works, and kind of its not necessarily the structure. The structure is still the same. You got titles, subcultures, kinds. You got your lands. You got your all that stuff. But I think like the lands are a lot better. I've done some reworks to that, and I'm still kind of working on those for the main book that we're kind of working on with You Are Beheld, the creative collective, which is me and Lilith Leviathan, and Wendy Ripston, and Crowley, and Ira Prince, and Six Valentine. Am I missing anyone? Lilith's here, so I'm just going to ask her. Okay. So yeah, a lot of work has happened on it, but I appreciate you saying that about the Dream Ash can. That was kind of the intent, was to have something that would be like really kind of cursory and like just a little bit of everything, because everything in SapphicWorld is so long. I say that as a positive. Do you want me to like kind of say what SapphicWorld is so that people kind of have
no, go for it. Yeah, say whatever you want to say.
SapphicWorld is a game that I have been working on since I believe around 2021. That is it's kind of my big game. It's kind of my heartbreaker. It is a Powered by the Apocalypse kink fantasy TTRPG that takes place in a setting that is kind of like imagining a queer future through kind of like fantastical metaphor and a lot of silly stuff, and it's inspired by all sorts of medievalism and Lego sets that I had when I was a kid, and the life story of Vashti Bunyan, the works of the tallest man on earth. I roved out in search of peace and love by porn artist Alexis Flowers. So a lot of different things have kind of gone into it. It's a strange game that I'm very proud of and very happy with. I think is like really, really weirdly mechanically deep for a PBTA, for Powered by the Apocalypse game. It has a lot of like little mechanics that kind of latch on to moves, and a lot of levers that you can pull, and like fully imagined and written up like lands and NPCs. It is a setting guide as well as a game, which I think is kind of fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do like that. I actually like and maybe, you know, maybe this is like my trad origin showing. I kind of enjoy when PBTA games have very specific moves, you know, that are like, because a lot of the moves, you know, reading through the basic moves, it almost felt like mini games for something like Firebrands, that it's like this is not so much a move in the PBTA sense of we're having a conversation of what's happening and then I'm going to look to a move to see what fiction I'm triggering. It almost feels like this move is how I'm going to frame this scene. I want to do this move, and so I'm going to frame the scene with this as the intent. Like, oh, I want to spend time with someone. I want, you know, I want to, you know, increase my what was the, I think the class you have in there is the babe.
There's the babe subcultures.
Yeah,
they're pretty fun.
The babe subculture, which I immediately got so obsessed with the idea of like having your fashion and making it trend and just like pushing that button in every scene that you're in. And you know, I think, and you know, hey, this is me. Don't you know, don't come at me. I feel like sometimes people make PBTA games and what they think PBTA is very loose rules and you can do what you want, man, and it's whatever, you know, just maybe sometimes you do a move and it's fiction first, so it doesn't mean anything, man. And then it's like, it does need some structure. It does need to sort of have like the fiction, it's fiction first, sure, which I think Vincent has said that's not actually it. But you know, the moves are like, we're doing a thing and now we have to decide how something is going to shake out. And we do that by looking at the moves and talking about what the moves are, and then we figure out whatever. You know, your moves do a thing that I like a lot, which is you can roll 2 and sometimes even 3 stats, kind of depending on the vibe, depending on the way that you're approaching it, the way that you're expressing it. And it feels like SapphicWorld is interested in managing the vibes as much as like, oh, we're telling a coherent story. It's like, yeah, what if we were just like vibe surfing through some of these scenes and, you know, whatever.
Yeah, it's a horny fever dream. Although, like, there are some elements that kind of hold it together. There are campaigns that happen in SapphicWorld, and I think like the setting elements kind of cohere things together. But I do think like the kind of incoherence is a part of it. It is supposed to feel wild and kind of rushing and just always kind of moving in some new and strange direction.
It feels like every other scene should like fade out with like a fog machine.
Yeah, it's a dream.
Like just a big thing of clouds rolls in, and then oh, okay, now we're on to the next thing.
Well, there's literally a mechanic in the game called dreams, where so characters have something called slumber, which is kind of like XP that they get at the end of sessions, and then if you fill up your slumber past its cap, which I think is like 12 at the moment, or it might be 10. I think it's 12. If you fill up your slumber past its cap of 12, you take on a dream, which is like a little. Sometimes it's like a little bit of suffering that your character experiences. Sometimes it is like a thing that just takes a lot of time or a lot of investment that asks you a lot of questions about your character that really like encourages you to think about things, change things, and then using that dream, you can make a world move trigger, which is like a big thing that happens to the world. Yggdrasil, the world tree Yggdrasil is returned. The Alatir, a like a great glacier of pearlescent ice falls on Freefall Keep, and the waters of the world now prevent any who drink them from dying. You know, that's kind of the vibe is you know literally dreams, literally like it's all the world itself is subjective and always being kind of changed and influenced by the people who live in it.
Mm-hmm. What made you, or I guess what drew you to such a dreamy, free-form, half-held sort of setting and an aesthetic with a more mechanically heavy kind of system underneath it?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, I think part of it started with where SapphicWorld started, which is actually as a 3 playbook, very simple, like pick and choose horny Powered by the Apocalypse game, where it was like, oh, you have a twink playbook, you have a MILF playbook, and you have like I have laser titties playbook. You have a I'm a funny and cool girl. I'm a bimbo playbook. But then like I started writing ones that were like really immediately compelling. The Skywife, like the Unerring Quester, which is not actually a title anymore. It became the Leech's Footstool. But I was like, oh shit, this is not what this game should be, and I started writing fiction about the Sapphic of the Hills and God, and sort of the tragedy that befell the Sapphic when in her intimacy with God she fell sick, and from there everything got like a little bit more serious, and then got silly and more serious, and then like I had all this kind of like rich mechanical base of you pick from 3 playbooks, and I think everything kind of just expanded off of there, because I was like, as I was playtesting it, I was like, it would be so cool to have this. It would be so cool to have this. And so I have this really like mythopoetic setting with a lot of, I think, mechanics that are meant to enable that. Debt as a mechanic. Debt is just about like, what do you owe people? Quests, what you've been sent to do. These are all things that are like they're not coin, they're not hunger. They're things that are kind of all in the mythopoetic space within that like very subjective world. So there's a lot of mechanics, but the actual themes that they are touching are very soft.
A big part of SapphicWorld is, and it's in the text, it's very clear, it's reiterated over and over and over and over, is the sort of presence and role, and if I can get art snooty, pushes my glasses up, like character of kink and sexuality and expression through sexuality, and for obvious reasons, it's obvious it was important, but what was it about? How did you decide how you wanted to express it in this game? Because I think what's interesting to me, it's never come up on the podcast, and so it feels weird to say this into a microphone. I'm asexual, identify as gray asexual, and as a person who doesn't engage in sexuality in the way that a lot of people do, it interests me to see the ways that people choose to mechanize sexuality in video games and TTRPGs. So what was sort of the angle you were coming at with SapphicWorld, where you said, okay, obviously sex and kink and all of this is going to be important. How did you decide this is the way that it's going to fit into the game? This is the way the characters are going to engage with it?
Yeah, well, it changed a lot for me. It started out for me as I want to have sex and kink be an option in this game. I want it to be a thing that kind of suffuses the setting. And then I realized that everybody that I was playing with, everybody who wanted to play test SapphicWorld, the game that I was talking about as a queer kink game, wanted to get really queer and kinky with it. And I was like, okay, I need to like think about this again. Mm-hmm. So now I just kind of suffuse everything with a little bit of kink. Like everything is kind of. I actually have a like series of questions that I now ask myself and fellow writers and editors whenever we're looking at a thing in SapphicWorld, which is it hot? Is it weird? How can we make it hotter and weirder? And like, I think those components have to be there. A thing can be weird but not hot. I think like there's a character named the Wayweaver who is asexual, older they them like water painter, and like they're really cool, they're really weird, they're really fun to be around, but they're not necessarily a character that like is going to, you know, they don't have sex, they're not necessarily going to be an object. I mean, they'll probably be an object of sexual affection for some people, but yeah, so I think part of it is just like driving home that this is a world where things fuck nasty. And I think that wound up being like things specifically, because I think I was like, I think part of this was an evolution of my identity and understanding around kink, because I think I used to be a lot more kind of prudish than I was around certain things, and a lot of that has changed over the last couple of years, and I've been expressing more like hard and angry and carnal things, and you know, having sex with objects, talking animals are now like beasts have flirt folds now in SapphicWorld, which is like a thing that we talked about a lot, because it was an intense decision, because like, you know, it is a thing that people get accused of being into bestiality all the time online, but also we're going for kind of a bestiary slash, you know, fairy tale, medieval story type vibe with a lot of this, and so we do need, you know, the weird fox that's going to fuck you. We need the unicorn, right? Who's going to like go after the virgin. So I think part of it, to actually answer your question, because I realize I'm kind of like setting up a lot here. It's always been about taking kink seriously. It's not just like, I'm going to put a butt plug in this area because it would be funny to put a butt plug here. It's like, these reads have a sweat fetish because like that is the easiest thing for them to get in this like hot river, like this hot floodland. Like these like fucking cattails are like sniffing the air for people's sweat and licking it up because that's how they get their water. That's how they get fresh water, because they live near a saltwater river. So it's like magical realm shit, but we're also like really fucking thinking about it a lot.
Yeah, and that's a thing that I was really excuse me, I was really kind of impressed by. Was it felt super horny, it felt very focused on being horny, and it did that thing where you can tell that it was written by a person who took being horny very seriously, where it didn't feel like a joke. It wasn't like, oh, it's a big dildo, look out, oh man. You know, it's just like, they're dog, they're horny. Yeah, what's up?
And I do put jokes in it, but they're really stupid. Like, there's a bunch of fucking moves in this game that are just like named after things, or like I don't even know where I would start looking for these. But I get silly with it, but like the world on some level takes itself seriously, and I think that's important to me.
Yeah, it feels like an important, like we talked about. God, I did it again. We talked about Johnny 45 Dicks. It feels like it's just a facet of the world. It is just a truth. You know, it's not something that, it's not, you know, you're playing D&D and your buddy's being weird and you're like, buddy, knock it off, you're being weird. Like, nobody else is engaging in this energy. Everyone in the world has that energy. Everybody is here for it and bringing it and accepting it at all times. And that makes it like true and interesting and exciting, from a gameplay sense and a narrative sense. You know, when you have a move, you know, what's the name of the move? It might literally just be like, come dance with me.
Yeah, I think it recently changed to Twirl Together. That's the last memory I have of it.
It is Twirl Together in the preview doc.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of, and this is an example. This is exactly what I was thinking of when I talked about it, like it almost feeling like a Firebrand's mini game, or you know, a sort of more mini game prompt based game. Was there are so many options that can take you in so many different directions and so many different sort of intense that playing out this one move will be the scene, and it will, and it can lead to another move, but everything about it is, it ranges from flirty to sexy to horny to, outright lewd horny, like big horny, in ways that's like, yeah, it's clear what you're getting into, and
yeah,
it's not wink, wink, nudge, nudge horny. It's like, there's an option that's just like, do you want to fuck? There you go. Boom. Done. We shake hands.
I meant to mention this when you mentioned Vincent Baker's Firebrands, which is that a lot of this did come specifically from me reading Firebrands and thinking about it and reading Under Hollow Hills. I think that like this is a secret and you can't tell anyone, because I think this is the biggest secret to making your PBTA design better. Follow the direction that the bakers are actually going in around PBTA, because they understand the form best and they're going to actually do significant work with it. Like a lot of the stuff in SapphicWorld around like specificity in pick lists, being like, yeah, you have some local gargoyles who are going to help you. That is kind of a Under Hollow Hills grab. Drawing from Firebrands and doing that. The bakers continue to draw from Firebrands. That's kind of the vibe. It's just like I think you got to go back to the root on this thing.
And I feel like the overlying structure, the thing that sort of keeps coming back to when you have a game or music or art or movie or whatever, is when the work commits to itself, and I think it's a thing. I think like a lot of things sucked in the 2010s, like late 2000s, 2010s era. A lot of things sucked. And I think a lot of it sucked because everyone made everything with like a wink and a nudge, like level of irony. Where like, and people still do it now, and it's poison and I hate it. Of just like not taking any part of anything they were doing seriously. People weren't taking the things that they were making seriously. People weren't taking the things that they were engaging with seriously. People weren't taking, in some ways, like relationships and the relationships between people seriously. And it's great to see a lot of things, other things during that weren't just mainstream, and things coming out now that are just like, no, like this is a game about, being horny and going on adventures and fucking all of your companions while you do a thing. Great. That's what it is. Boom, we're committing to it. It's not a, whoa, silly, but in the way, in case I cut it out, in the way we were talking about the other game that we won't name because maybe I cut it out. It feels, think about it. It feels silly, right? It feels like it feels like the premise is silly. It feels like the concept is silly. You're supposed to feel like it's silly, and in a way that is not taking itself seriously, in a way to be silly. There was a great Mikey, the developer of Slug Blaster, had a great thread talking about seeing people play Slug Blaster and engaging with people playing Slug Blaster, and realizing that where he was sitting with it, Slug Blaster was as equally a serious game as it was a silly game. That it was silly in the way that Adventure Time is silly, as a great touchstone for a lot of these things, where it's very silly. And then you have an episode where they reveal that it was a nuclear apocalypse that took place not that long ago, and all of these, and there's all of these serious elements all of the time, but also, silliness. There's a weird horse that stares at me and I can't go to sleep. And Mikey had a great thread where he was talking about, like, for him, the seriousness is always there, and it's sort of an important grounding thing for the silliness. And with what he was seeing, and it wasn't an admonishment, it was more of an observation. I just want to, make sure I'm not, painting Mikey's things in a bad light. It was an observation. It was like, oh, I understand why I struggle watching people engage with the game because I see them engage with it when as the person who made it, I engage with it with this, which I love seeing a designer talk about their work and the way that they see people engage with it in sort of that sort of clear way. I've always wondered when people make stuff like that and it goes out, if it's just like, oh yeah, I saw someone play my game and I hate it. Like, I think if I made a video game, I would never watch someone stream it because I feel like I would hate every moment of it.
Yeah, I've seen people run SapphicWorld who hadn't played it or run it with me, and it's definitely hard. Like, it can take a bit. On the subject of seriousness, I think one of the things that I totally like, Adventure Time is a huge frame of reference for me as well. It really informs, like, I think where I find SapphicWorld's tone in a lot of places. And I think about, like, I think a lot of that is being anchored by sadness. SapphicWorld is, it's weird, it's horny, but it's also like there's a lot of characters who are sad, and I think it's important. I mean, it's also like the horniness sometimes is the sadness because it's a world without birth. So, like, you're fucking her, and you're like, I'm gonna get you so pregnant, and you're like, wait a second, I can't do that. Which is like, oh shit! Like, we're all so liberated and libertine. We're also sexually liberated and just naked all over the place and whatever because we don't have children, and we can just kind of do that. And it's like, yeah, that does kind of suck. Mm-hmm. But also it's fun. I don't ever come at the approach in the book that, like, wouldn't it be awesome if there were no kids? Fucking annoying kids. I literally, my job is I work with kids every day. Like, I think children are, like, so important. And I think that, like, their safety and care is so important. Ultimately I part of the intent of SapphicWorld not having children is to be like, wow, it would kind of, there would be things that we could do in a world where it was only horny adults, but also, like, there would be a lot that we would lose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I feel like the way there's things that I'm sort of starting to decide, and in the way that not that this is a thing I would put on anybody else, but in the way that I'm like I feel like as an adult you need to have, like, the God, this sounds crazy to say out loud. I feel like you need to have like rules. You need to have things that you have decided are just, like, true about the world, and ethos, whatever. And I think one of those big things that I think about a lot, and I come back to, is how people treat children. Mm-hmm. Because I think there's a lot of nuance in that space. And I think a lot of people, like, fuck up in a big way, where, like, we need to have kids, obviously, like, we need to keep making people, sure, of course, whatever. I think a lot of people are like, yeah, I don't want kids. Okay, cool. And then they extrapolate that to be, you shouldn't have kids, or kids shouldn't be here. Like, yeah. You get a lot of weird people online that are really weirdly militant about where kids are. And I say this as a person that doesn't have kids and doesn't plan to have kids. And also lives in a place where I have to interact in the public with people who have kids, aka, a society. There are places where children can and should be, regardless of whether it's a comfort thing for me or not. I don't get to decide if there's kids that shouldn't be at the park. Kids should be at the park. It doesn't matter if the kids are being loud and bothering me at the park. They should be at the park. When I'm at, like, a brewery, or something like that, hey, kids probably shouldn't be here. We should, and that is a nuanced sentiment, right? We can have conversations around spaces for families and the lack of third spaces in American culture and all of these things. That's a great nuanced conversation. But all of this to say, man, that was a long rambly thing.
That was good.
I think it's interesting to learn that the sort of place of children was so important in the setting, because it definitely feels like you said. I think it sets an important tone in the game to say like there are no children, and in a way that I think you said it so perfectly, like evokes sadness, but also like elation in equal measure. Like, not the children are somewhere else. Not, oh, we've put the children to bed in that, oh, it's 10:30 p.m. and now we can get a little horny on TV. It's like, no, there are no children.
Yeah, it's like, it's not that all the children are gone. It's that all the children are grown the second they're here. And we're all just like, to be clear, how this works is that people come in and out of the mist, and the mist is kind of a conglomeration of different aspects of people, and so it kind of, people will go in, people will go out, and then it kind of just fucking smashes them together. Yeah, it is like everybody who will ever exist, everybody who would be a child is just an adult. And so one of the things that I really had to think about recently was I was doing a rework of the Noble Sweetheart, which is like a playbook where you are a revolutionary hero who kind of like took on the role of kind of a play noble in the days after the revolution. And one of the things that I thought about a lot was like, I have these advisors, and one of the options that I like just wrote down without thinking was parent. Like, one of your advisors is a person who you understand, like, not understand, but like a person who you view as your parent. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that is really interesting in the setting, because it's like, it's playing into certain like fetishes that I know people who are very into, and mm-hmm. Drawing on a lot of like really interesting queer cultural stuff. And also it is kind of like fascinating from the angle of, there is no birth in this world. This is not your dad, but you can say he is. Mm-hmm. You can. Should I say this on your show? You can edit this out. You can suck him off about it, but he's not going to be your dad. He's never going to be your dad.
He's never going to be your dad sounds so admonishing after saying you can suck him off all you want. He's not going to be your dad.
Never going to be your dad.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I click that little explicit tag every episode. I don't know. They haven't said anything. We'll figure it out.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. Well, somebody on the podcast once like was like, can I curse? And I was like, fuck yeah, go for it.
Listen, I'm not into ABDL, but I think people who are into it are really cool. And some of the like coolest, most interesting, smartest trans people I know are into ABDL. So God bless them.
I don't know what that is. That's okay.
Adult baby diaper lover, which is it's kind of a broader term that people use for like kind of little / big / mommy daddy dynamics. Mm-hmm. Anyways, you can edit all this out if you want to, but also someone might learn something, so think about that.
The thing I always say, as long as it's between two consenting adults, or I mean any number of consenting adults, I guess, whatever. Yes,
I agree.
Have a good time.
Course.
I'm not worried about it. People need this. Yeah. The thing people are saying, and I'm starting to take on, and you got to kill the cop in your head. You got to get over. It is such. You mentioned earlier, part of the queer experience is so much less fighting straight people than fighting other queer people. And like, I need people, as I say this as a person who's still on TikTok, God help me. I need people to not be upset at the idea of people using labels that you feel are contradictory, because I said this on a friend of mine video. Like, I need people to start internalizing the phrase, "This is none of my business." Like, don't worry. It's not about you. It doesn't have anything to do with you. Oh, I don't understand it. unless that person is a person that you have a deep enough relationship with and connection with that you can ask them a question about that, if you can enter into a conversation about them to help you explain or help you understand, don't worry about it. Just keep on moving.
Yeah, if you have an opinion, if you're not a bi-lesbian and you have an opinion about bi-lesbians that is not what Matt Calder just described, you should, like, if you start typing that up, your computer should kill you.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying you should die, but I'm saying that there should be a mechanism by which your computer kills you, like as a law.
Your computer should slam the little drawer shut on your hands, because we all still have those big goofy 90s things where you have to open the drawer to the keyboard. Obviously, it should just slam, because we don't need that energy. And you know, to bring it back, you've a great point about this in the Faggot Games blog post, talking about people complaining about Bunlith, who, God, I love Bunlith. God, I love Bunlith. Bunlith's incredible.
So cool.
Lilith is amazing, and I thank the stars every day that there is someone that fucking cool making video games.
Agreed.
Of just like, oh, but you know, like, yeah, but she's also a little Shut up about it.
Shut the fuck up.
Like, disrespectfully, shut the fuck up.
Oh, she's corny. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, guess what? You're corny too. Corny ass. You're probably also corny.
Bro, you only listen to Nintendo game OSTs while you're driving your car. Shut the fuck up. You thought Jazz was from Persona. Shut like I'm not gonna say what I wanted to say there, but shut the fuck up.
I think this is such an interesting point about this. I've said for a while, like, I hate the concept of quote unquote cringe, not the concept of cringe, but the concept of using the word cringe, because I feel like it's a new way for people to call people the R slur.
Yep.
Like, it's just specifically a new insult for the internet age. Like, it is the new in a long line of slurs that people are calling people online. And I can't help but, like, look at the ways that people use, like, the way internet cultures form, right? The way subcultures and fandom groups and stuff use and propagate and, like, bolster the internet, right? Like, no one would care about Instagram if people who took pictures of their food weren't posting on Instagram, right? No one would care about Instagram models if people who were fashionable in any sense of that word were taking pictures of themselves and using Instagram, right? It is always the weirdos and freaks that make a social network or whatever, make the internet what it is. And so it's always bothered me that those people who are just self-expressing, like, their interests, their what gets them excited, their existence, are just excited about that fact, get shit on so much for it, right? Like, corny dude who thinks Jazz is from Persona never gets called corny because he never posts anything. He just goes around calling people corny. Because if he did post, people would be like, "Bro, you're so corny." Like,
bro, take your Hylian crest green shirt off. Take your khaki shorts off. And get 11s and just fucking go to town on your prostate.
I feel so attacked right now. Eclipse, I used to have a green shirt with the Hylian crest and khaki pants. Listen, I thought I was straight once. It's fine, but also, ow, that hurt a little bit.
I'm sorry to hurt you.
I could picture, like, I definitely have a picture of me in that outfit, and it hurts. But also that person was a little corny, and they maybe got a little too opinionated online, and so maybe that person deserves it.
There you go. I think that this is kind of the thing that we've been talking about, which is, like, you gotta be earnest. You gotta, like, I can't. In the year 2025, I can't be here for irony.
No.
I get it, but also, I mean, sometimes I engage in a little irony, but like, in art, it should be toys. Play with your toys. Play with my toys. Have fun with me. Play in the space.
Yeah, play with me in this space. I think that's really it. Is like you can have a little bit of irony as a treat, but also I feel like if you're making something, if you're making a game, if you're making music, you're making whatever, it should be saying something, and that something has to be earnest, and this is the point in the way that all of these episodes do, where it comes up where it's like, this is why fucking AI is like horrendous and is so like immediately revulsive to people who make things, because like I saw someone say it perfectly, like the fucking up and learning and trying again is part of it.
That's kind of why I'm happy that some of my art is a little amateurish, because I know that it has flaws that AI is not going to ever want to replicate.
No, I love your style. Like it's immediately identifiable as like, oh, Eclipse drew that. And I also like it fits this really. I think everybody has their own style of drawing, and it's always interesting to see when someone draws something, the details that they tend to focus on. And I love the like colors of your art. I'm not going to sit here and compliment you, though I will if you want. But
appreciate it.
It's just that thing of like where people are like, oh, I'm not that good at drawing. It's like you shut the fuck up. I'm going to slap you. You're great. You're doing great. You're doing better than people who are out here complaining that they have 3 jobs and so they have to use AI.
Draw a beautiful picture with me. It's so much fun.
Draw an image. It's wonderful. You'll feel better about yourself.
Get Eclipse Studio Paint and use the oil brush and just start like gently adjusting across a value range or what do you call it, like a tint range, and you'll find that you'll make some interesting stuff.
There's so much that goes into like AI stuff. I don't want to talk about AI all the time. But it's
okay.
It looking at like spending the last few years like trying to like deconstruct like toxic masculinity and understanding what that looks like in myself and the ways that I've like taken it on and the ways that I propagate it unconsciously, and trying to address those behaviors and looking at it in others. The whole AI thing makes perfect sense to me, because so much of masculine culture in America, specifically because we're American and so this is how I'm talking about it, like does not value art, does not value color, does not value expression in ways that are ultimately harmful, in ways that are like, there's that meme of like, men will live like this, and it's a milk crate and a TV and a mattress on the floor. And like, there's the joke, like, oh, everybody knows that guy and fuck that guy. But also like, that's a societal failing. That's not just Jimmy's fault because Jimmy is an asshole. Jimmy is an asshole, but also Jimmy's father was an asshole, and all of the men in Jimmy's lives are assholes. And Jimmy was, discouraged as a child from finger painting and coloring and going out and looking at the sky and picking out, what does that cloud look like, and drawing and dreaming and all of these things at a systemic societal level. And so, of course, when Jimmy grows up and he wants a silly photo of Garfield smoking a blunt, he doesn't pick up a pencil and draw Garfield smoking a blunt. He's like, whatever AI bullshit thing. There you go. There it is. Because that's all he wants. He doesn't find value in the expression.
Yeah, it's we definitely live in a society that like shows to so many of us that if we slip up just a little bit, we'll be in like, the worst situation, the situations that our neighbors are in, and it atomizes us to the extent that we believe the way to deal with that is not to reach out to our neighbor and pull them up, so that we are all, we're all protected.
Mm-hmm.
I'll do an aside in a moment, but it is instead to to make ourselves more powerful. It's to destroy the people beneath us and to get exactly what what we want. It's to throw away our humanity, the things that make us human: nature, art, music, socialization, um, charity, care, and give in to the creature inside of us that wants to dominate. To learn more about this, you should read Faggots and Their Friends Between Revolutions, which is a really great book that is like kind of inspired Sapphic World in small ways across my the last half a decade, but is also like very recently I read it in full, and it really it kind of expanded my thought process on, or it reflected a lot of things that I had already kind of been thinking about, but also expanded my mindset in some other ways, because it does touch on some things that I was talking about, which is like if you give to the people around you, you ensure that if you are ever in that situation, you're taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think I think I am atomized. I'm not necessarily giving all that I have to my neighbor. But yeah, I don't know. I think part of it's just like you can't necessarily do it in isolation because you're exposing yourself. But I do think that like in organization there's a lot of space for mutual aid and getting organized and being there for each other. And it's something that I said in the Faggot Games blog that I want to do, and it's something I'm still working on.
Yeah, and I think it's not a one day thing. It's mostly in a large part because of the society that we live in and the society we have to exist in. It's not as easy as people love to say like go and meet your neighbors, and it's like that's great. And you should know your neighbors to an extent, but that doesn't mean that all of your neighbors are safe people. That doesn't mean that all of your neighbors are people who you want to exist in community with that closely, regardless of whether you want to. You do. But it's a growing process. It's a step-by-step thing, and it's why I think it's important to look at organizing, like you said, and finding that community and finding that space helps grow those muscles, helps regrow that empathy that's kind of pushed out of us and cut out of us due to the hellscape that we live in.
Yeah, Sapphic World kind of touches on this, which is like everybody in Sapphic World is a person who lived under feudalism, and so like has feudal mindsets, has mindsets around like lieges and ladies and lords, and caring for the fiefdom rather above yourself. And so like how do you live a happy life knowing that like that's not going to change for you in your lifespan? Even if it's changed materially, which I don't think it will. I mean, well, I hope it does change for us in our lifespan materially, but like how are you a good communist when you want to play Minecraft, right? Like how are you a good leftist when you want to like when you have this thing in your brain that's like you should conquer and collect and gather and defeat, and you want to engage that in a way that's like playful, but also maybe that play has a reinforcement of those things. And I don't really think there are answers for that. The reason why Sapphic World is asking it is because I think it's a question that's multifaceted and has a lot of space to explore.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned at the top that Sapphic World is not an activist text, and I feel like there was intentionality behind that, but I'm interested in your thoughts. We're starting to see a lot of games that are, I don't want to say are poised as activism, because I don't think a lot of them are, but I think a lot of people are starting to look at games as a facet of activism. And I don't know. I'm gonna stop. I'm trying to get myself out of the habit of saying a question and then immediately saying what I think. Trying to get better about that habit. It's what happens when you stream for a long time. You get really good at asking a question and then giving an answer and giving people time to answer. What's your thought about that thing that's definitely not good?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I'm trying to find this. I'm trying to remember like who did this article. What was the game on drive-thru that got
Rebel
taken
Scum.
down? Rebel Scum. So there was this thread that someone did on Rebel Scum about Rebel Scum. I'm trying to remember who did it. Olivia Hill.
I was going to say,
really great.
I was about to say, was it Olivia Hill's thread?
A really great thread on Rebel Scum. And one of the things that Olivia identifies is that, like, to say, and to be clear, I think like the fight of the folks who made Rebel Scum is righteous. I'm just like saying this from an artistically like critical perspective. I think that the having that thing in there that's like to give some context, Rebel Scum is a game that was recently taken down from DriveThruRPG because it contains a line that says specifically, I have called the Republic, so we can say, I punched that Republican in the face. This is deliberate. This is a line that kind of led to things, kind of breaking down. And I really agree with Olivia Hill's perspective here. And not to use a word we kind of poo-pooed earlier today, but I do think Olivia is using it in a good way. This is cringe as hell. I kind of agree, which is that, like, it's kind of it's a little bit of a circle jerk. It's we are at the table and we're saying, oh, we're punching Republicans, but like, the real work of like activism doesn't necessarily look like punching Republicans in the face all the time, and it certainly doesn't look like playing a game with your friends. I mean, maybe coalition, building up, getting organized, building up relationships might game with your friends, but it's a tricky one. I think that there is some truth perhaps to like perhaps in a dominance of games that are kind of in that like space of revolutionary games that are like about real world current revolutions. But there are, or even like, fantasy or sci-fi revolutions that mimic our current moment. But I also think that, like, I'm sure that the people who made this is that it's play. So yeah, I'm sorry not to have a distinct and hard stance on that, but I think it's a tricky one.
Yeah, excuse me. I do think it's tricky, like you said. Like I think it's good to have games that are like that, because I think it can provide catharsis for people. I think it can help provide safe outlets for people for expressing frustration and different emotions during times like this. And I think I always kind of believe in the transformative ability of play. I don't want to say nature, but in the ways that when you are spending time with any number of other individuals, expressing yourselves and in collaboration and community, that can have a transformative effect on you. I do side eye any game that outright calls itself activism. Just at a real base level, because I think that kind of misunderstands what activism is. I think it misunderstands what effective activism looks like. And in a way that even saying that, I'm like, maybe, you know what I mean? Like, I think there is a nuance to it. I think there is gray area. I think there's discussion to be had. But I definitely think that if someone was like, and this game will make the world a better place, it's like, let's talk about that one, champ. I don't know. There's
a really good faggot game waiting to be made that's like kind of taking the piss out of this idea, where it's like a faggot game that's like, this game, playing this game is activism. You're making the world a better place by playing this game. Write down this mantra 300 times, and it's like, praise the regime, praise the regime, praise the regime. Like this game is historically serious and historically progressive. Put on the visor and jack off.
Put on the visor and jack off.
Get into the mech.
Put on the suit that jacks you off.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, that ties into one of the things that I'm gonna encourage people to go check out later. But
everybody, well, no, listen, you can't tell people to go check out Halo. It's on a BDS protest. Calm down, Eclipse.
Yeah, go check out this cool new game called Halo ODST.
Have you heard? I don't know. It's kind of
Xbox.
underground. Has anybody heard about this new the Xbox? It's pretty.
Anyone slamming this one? Slamming down a fat can of Halo.
He's slamming down.
Oh, I had a really good bit in mind earlier when we were talking about like, I think it was about like kind of the like 2010s Marvelness of things.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, he's right behind me, isn't he? Yeah, he is. Buck your hips.
Yeah, throw it back at him. God, I really do feel like now that you say that, like, he's right behind me, isn't he? Is such a great encapsulation of that. Oh,
right behind me, isn't he? Well, that just happened.
Yeah, God, well, that just happened. Oh, I recently went back and I was playing the first Life is Strange game. I think it's really interesting to see what was acceptable queer expression in video games like 12 years ago, which is not that long ago. Yeah. But it was really funny. My friends and I got in a big discussion about this because I finished the game and then I went and read a review. And I want to point out that it was a woman who wrote this because I think that's an important touchstone for what she brings up. She praised the writers for their ability to have to tell the friendship between the two female main characters, roughly quoted, without falling back on having a romance angle to explain it. And me, who very specifically made choices during that game that led them to kiss multiple times and, hold hands at the end of all things. I was like, I don't know about that, Reed. I don't know about that. I don't know if that's where I would go with that. I don't know if I would say, and I think it was such an interesting thing to call out that it's like, there's a part of me that understands where she's coming from because a lot of it is not couched in a romantic relationship. A lot of it is not a conversation about their romantic relationship. It is not the story of them building a romantic relationship in the way that if this game was two straight people of opposite genders, it would be. And I think in a similar way, that game sidesteps a straight relationship to less effect, but a similar effect. But also I think it's really funny to be like, yeah, and thankfully they weren't lesbians. And it's like, I don't know about that.
I think they might have been lesbians.
Yeah, I think they might have been. I think they were definitely a little bit lesbians. I'm
checking my notes, and they may have been lesbians just based on just the sort of the area.
They definitely nobody, and I think it's an interesting struggle with queer media. With you get into people yelling queer baiting at everything and all, and I think it's very funny how, like, if you I played that game and I definitely got the vibe. People were talking about like are these two characters, are they in a relationship? Is this other character? Are they, is this character and this character in a relationship? How does that factor into it? And there was a part of it that I was like, well, part of it is just vibes and how you want to read the story. And there was another part of it where I was like, yeah, you're right. The main character should look directly into the camera at the player and say, I am a lesbian. Like it should happen. Yeah, that should definitely happen right at the beginning. So because else, how would you know?
Part of the other thing with representation, I think this is a thing that like big media is never going to understand. Like, big games, big TV shows, big movies. You don't really have like a queer. Okay, here's the thing. These people work in workplaces where this is true, where you have like one gay person on the floor. But in friend groups, queer people stick together. Like, and so you're not going to have one queer person. It's going to be a bunch of queer people. And then when they do represent that, it's always like, here's the bi one, here's the non-binary one. And it's like, no, bitch, that's like four bisexual T-girls and like one trans dude named Adam or something. Like,
yeah, we don't group up in individual pairings like that where it's like, oh, are you the bisexual? Okay, I'll find another friend group. Hi. Okay, bye.
It's random. It's completely fucking random.
That's why to shout out a game that does queer representation very well, surprise, surprise, Get in the Car Loser by Christine Love was so fantastic because coming off of playing Final Fantasy 13, in which a core tenet of that game is that the lesbian women will save us, like explicitly in a very funny way that I feel like even the game didn't understand how explicitly they were about it. It felt like the game didn't realize how hard they were saying these women were lesbians. To get into Get in the Car Loser, which, Christine Love is a trans woman, and there's a lot of queer like writing and identity and conversation. To have it be like, you can tell when I feel like this is a thing I'm going to say once and I'm going to get in trouble because I'm going to say it about the wrong thing and someone's going to get mad at me. But you can tell when a queer person wrote something. You can tell when a queer person writes a queer character because they don't have that moment where they look at the camera and go, and I'm a bisexual. You know what I mean?
I'm a bisexual.
Right. It just happens. You know what I mean? They have the moment where they say they're a bisexual, but they mention it like you would in passing. What's happening? Oh God.
Hey guys, I'm a bisexual.
Yeah, just really quick.
Well, now I've decided to be normal.
No, that was perfect. That was great. I'm
not squared the way that I was. There we go. That's closer.
I'm really excited for how I'm gonna have to like adjust that in the edit. That's fun. But it's like you said, like big media is never going to get representation right because they will either make characters that always read us straight because no one will ever think to have them do anything that isn't just heteronormative coded, or they have characters that are so over the top and flamboyant in order to be like, this is how he's gay. This is how you know. That's how you know he's gay. So don't forget.
Yeah. Yeah, it's either really simplistic or it's like not there at all. And it's frustrating. I wish
I don't know how we got on this.
Probably, I don't know either. It's cool though. It was a good topic. It was fun.
Sometimes it's a fun thing about doing a podcast is sometimes you reach like a point in conversation like how did what? How are we talking about this?
It's just kind of you play around. Oh yeah, I should say something about SapphicWorld. We don't have a like release date yet. We're still working on some promotional material that's going to be kind of core to doing a crowdfunder, but I would say folks might know soon because we are doing like every other week we're doing a significant amount of work on that promotional material, and I think we're almost done with it.
Hell yeah. I would love to I'm curious at the amount of work that goes into a crowdfunder. I get the idea sometimes that like people don't realize how much work it is to set up and establish and all those little graphics for, when you scroll down a Kickstarter or a backer kit or whatever, like all those little graphics and stuff, those have to get made and approved and make sure that they're the right size. And, they're not accidentally 800 by 1600 and now the page is too big and everything's out of whack.
Yeah, it's definitely difficult. I would say hardest parts are honestly the hardest part is probably like wrangling all your people up to work on it. Handling money, like because especially because we swapped from Kickstarter to backer kit, from Biotraffication to Dracotrophication, which are two games that I Biotraffication is out, Dracotrophication still working on. But yeah, like it can take a long time. God, I think I did Dracotrophication in like January, February, and it's July now, and the game's not out. So, and it's like a zine. So yeah, even bigger stuff takes a lot longer.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like, as you said, all those little things that you need, getting a cover, getting mock-ups of a cover, getting like rates for things, like figuring out like how much your like pack-ins are going to cost, like if you're doing like any stretch goals or like extra rewards, like how much those are going to cost to manufacture. Shipping is a big thing. Tariffs now are huge. So yeah, it can be pretty hard. And it's I personally have not seen much money out of the two crowdfunders that I've done at the end of the day, but I kind of do it for the love of the game. And also, I think that part of it is just I'm scaling up. Your Beheld is scaling up, and I think SapphicWorld is going to be pretty big for us if we play our cards right, and we're gonna be talking to a lot of people and seeing how we can kind of pull some of our relationships for that.
Hell yeah, I'm excited. It's always exciting to see people like squaring up to do their big thing. It's always exciting, in the TTRPG space and elsewhere, to see people who, creatives doing stuff, working on stuff, and then you can tell they're gearing up to work on a big thing. Yeah.
SapphicWorld really informed this like has informed this decade so far for me, and I'm hoping that it does well enough that it can inform the other half of this decade, because I still really enjoy working on it. It's kind of I am so blessed that I like found something that I can just kind of pour myself into.
Well, we're getting near the end, because sadly these podcasts have to end at a certain point. I always say, if it was up to me, it would just happen forever, and that would be a bummer, because I would only ever do one instead of a bunch, but that's how it goes. But so let's talk about homework. Homework, if people don't know, if for some reason this is your first time listening, homework is a little question that I pose to the guests before we get together, where I ask them to bring 2 to 3 things that they're excited to share with you, as the podcast is things that I'm excited to share with you. I'll let Eclipse do theirs. I got challenged on the last interview to like do my own homework, which was wild. But I do have one at the end. So after Eclipse does hers.
I'm going to shout out the Central American Refugee Center of Long Island. They do really, really important work around Central American refugees and undocumented folks in my locale. I think that especially now it is important that folks have advocates. Undocumented folks have advocates, and in my area there's a very large portion of undocumented immigrants from Central America, and I think that it is great that they're being served by a sort of dedicated organization.
Hell yeah.
My second thing, which is also going to include a charity, I'm going to recommend out of the Faggot Games Jam, Faggot Games TTRPG Jam, Worldling Activities Faggot, which is a project that was created by a person named Peripherescence. That is kind of hard to explain. I recommend looking at it yourself. And then actually, really what I recommend you do is go to the page, scroll all the way to the bottom. There's a QR code for Food Not Bombs Eugene, which the creator of this project describes as their bank. So I highly recommend you give $5 for this project to Food Not Bombs Eugene, and then give it a look through. It's really fascinating. There's a lot here that is like really clearly really personal, really artistic. really queer. It is coming from like someone who has been very clear that they themselves are homeless and are like making art in the context of being homeless. And so I think that like one, supporting the organization this person says benefits them is really cool, and two, I think viewing this art and exploring it, some of it is I will say like somewhat occasionally difficult to follow, but I think that is really charming. I think it's a really charming quality about it. It is very kind of internal in it's written, and there's a lot of it. There's a lot of writing here, so give this a thumb through. Then I have one more. I'm going to recommend. I kind of vaguely referenced this earlier. I'm going to recommend Myrmidon, brought by Prolet Cult on Blue Sky. Myrmidon is a fanfic on Archive of Our Own.
Oh no!
It's really good. It is a it's actually not a fanfic. It's a novel or novella that is exploring the sort of mexploitation genre introduced by Cali Cthulhu or Calidora, who made Warhound. But the thing that is intriguing about it to me is its emphasis on like alt history, Soviet Union stuff. There is the regime that has like conquered the entire known world except for the remaining, like kind of the remnants of the United States, and some weird perverted military leadership who completely fuck up some young trans women and use them as weapons, and it's really weird and gross and hot. So yeah, I recommend you give that a look.
I don't know why the word mexploitation has been on my Blue Sky so much lately, but I feel like it's that weird medium where I'm not seeing it enough that I can follow who is talking about it and where it's coming from and what's happening, but also frequently enough that I'm like, why does this keep coming up? What is this? Why do I keep seeing this? Like, it's just like, what is happening? Where is it?
Exploitation is, I feel like, as a genre about like, the joke answer is like, what if a weird military woman like kind of mind controlled you and put you in a mech in like a really gross, like bloody, fucked up way. But I think like more broadly, it is kind of a genre that is like exploring trans femininity through the angle of military sci-fi, specifically mechs, and like it has some conventions like the Hound, the Handler, a lot of that coming from Armored Core, and also Calidora's Warhound. So yeah, this is the one that I recommend because it's the one that I've really read fully. I've dipped in some others, but I haven't really. I'm not as well versed in mexploitation as I'd like to be, but I recommend this one. I think it's good.
Weird question before we get off this topic. What is it about giant mechs that really brings all the trans girlies to the yard?
Their second bodies.
That's it. Yeah, there you go. And that does explain it. Now that you explain it, I'm putting together other things that I've seen on my Blue Sky. They're like, okay, I get what's happening. I get what's happening.
And they're dysphoric in some ways. Like, you are dysphoric when you are piloting the mech because you're not operating in the body that is yours, right?
This feels like an eventuality with the people that I follow, which is like obviously a lot of queer people and a lot of trans folk and mech weirdos, and it feels like this is just the perfect storm that I created for myself. That like,
yeah,
of course I was going to be here eventually.
Yeah, no, you should get I don't know if Calidora does interviews like on audio, but you should see if you can get Calidora on here. That'd be cool.
I could figure out a written one. I don't know. I'm not.
Hell yeah.
I've always kind of like, people are always like, oh, so you do video and audio and stuff, and I'm like, I do whatever the person that I'm excited to interact with is accepting of. And so So I asked Eclipse before the interview if she wanted to use if she wanted me to use my PNG tuber that I use at the intro and outro, and you I don't want to say you laughed it off, but you put it on me whatever I wanted to do
It's up to you.
yeah. And I think I wouldn't be against doing like a written interview or something that's asymmetrically recorded. But I'm it's that thing of I'm interested to try different things because I know people will have different comfort levels with what they want to get up to. So yeah,
That makes sense.
yeah, I'd be down for that. My homework, very, very quickly. I don't think I've talked about it on the podcast. Is the show Devil's Plan on Netflix?
Oh.
My partner and I have been watching season 2 lately. And obviously, hey, pirate your Netflix. Who cares? My wife and I have been watching it lately. It is by the same production team from another Korean variety show. It's a Korean show. Another Korean variety show we love called The Great Escape, which I recommend to people all the time. This is easier. Devil's Plan is easier to recommend because it's on Netflix, so it's a little easier to watch / pirate. It is a puzzle-based kind of oh my god, what do you call those shows? Reality shows. I don't know why I couldn't think of it. Where people are put together, they live in a space, they have to complete complicated puzzle games where they're competing against each other. There's points, but the games are so well designed. They're so exciting to watch people learn to play. Like in that moment, you see strategies evolve, you see alliances, form and break and all of that. And then there's weird secret things that happen in the show because the show is made by a person who's like really into making weird games. His previous show, Great Escape, was one of the biggest budget shows in Korea at the time. They basically got 6 Korean like celebrities and personalities together and made them go through increasingly elaborate escape houses. Like escape rooms would be incorrect. Like they were complexes, they would be warehouses or hospitals or homes or military bases, carnivals.
Scary.
Yeah, and it was fun. That show was obviously part of the fun of that was watching these personalities interact and do these puzzles. And with this, it's the same sort of thing where you have K-pop idols, but you also have a thing that I mentioned to my partner. One of the things I like about the show is they get people who are like, oh, this person is an idol, this person is a singer, or this person is an actress, but they also have open auditions. So one of the people on the show right now, he was a college student and he just passed the open exam. He finished the puzzle and came in and they cast him. They have people who are lawyers. They had people in the first season who was a podiatrist. They have somebody on it right now who's a lawyer who specializes in corporate mergers and acquisitions. And so all of these people are like whip smart and really on it. And it's just a really engaging show. It's really fun to watch people play games and play each other. It's really funny to watch someone have a plan and then immediately betray someone else and go like, oh, they're going to remember that. That's going to go bad for you here in a minute.
I think the idea of specifically like really smart and like kind of activated people in a game show like that is really fun.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, the second season is really good. I do still recommend the first season because it's different people, but the second season is really it's like it's almost like different seasons of Survivor. Like I would say a pretty close analog is Survivor in that they are competing for each other, but also competing to they're adding money to a pot when that's the pot that the person eventually wins. So there's a weird mix of competitiveness and cooperativeness that has to exist. But the second season has been fantastic so far because everyone that's in the second season is aware of the first season and so kind of knows what they're getting themselves into and is so immediately into playing the game, forging an alliance, playing other people, helping / like pushing other people, getting other people to do what you want that they might not want to do that you want them to do. And so it's been just so on this whole season. It has been, it's so good. We saw two secret games occur, which was great.
Oh, double secrets.
Yeah. It's great. But yeah, so with homework out of the way, we just have the last question. This is the final question. This is a secret question. Before we get to it, Eclipse, thank you so much for being on the show.
Of course.
I appreciate the hell out of you. I've known Eclipse, I think, just long enough that this is not like a weird thing to ask, but also it was, I'll be honest, I was a little nervous. We didn't talk about the Dove Code at all. Y'all go listen to the Dove Code. Go follow Eclipse's stuff.
Let's check out the Dove Code.
Eclipse,
cool.
Eclipse has their own show where they talk to TTRPG people about, I don't know, whatever the hell you talk about.
Usually TTRPG design, play, and news.
Hell yeah. I was talking to my partner about having you on specifically, and how you very recently just had Seda on. Who, you know,
Yeah.
if for some reason, again, if this is your first episode, Seda was on this show not that long ago. And I was saying that I feel the opposite feeling of competitiveness with this, because I know Seda being on your show is going to be 100% different than Seda being on my show. And I want, after having Seda on, I want Seda to be on everyone's show. Like,
I watched the beginning of your episode with Seda before I did my Dove Code episode, and in the beginning of your episode, Seda does say, like, oh, I don't really talk about my music much, but I guess I do that. So I immediately started the episode by asking Seda about her music.
I love that, and that's the thing. Like, I know there will be things that you know we'll talk about that you won't, and like. The point of the show, the point of my show, and you know your show as well, I assume, is like to talk to people about cool things. And so why would I feel any sort of ownership over people doing cool things? Like, why would I feel? And it's kind of freeing to have that revelation of so quickly to see Seda on Dove Code and be like, oh, I don't care at all. That's good. I'm glad I don't have to wrestle with that emotion. I'm glad I don't have to wrestle with myself over feelings of inadequacy or something like that. No, I'm good. I can move past that. Okay, cool. Good.
Yeah, I've had a realization similar to that as well, where I have a lot of friends in TTRPGs who are like a lot bigger than me, and I think at first I was like, oh, like, you know, oh, these people are doing so much better than me, but then I think I realized at a certain point, like, oh no, like these opportunities are open to me too, because I know, like, one, because I know these people. I think that's like an element of it, but also like the work that I'm doing is really good, and like I know how to sell this work to some degree, or at least like, you know, get these opportunities. So yeah, I think killing the part of you that's jealous is like such an important part of like being any sort of artist online. Like, you know, including making a talk, like making an interview show is art. Like, you know, you are putting production and thought and, you know, and words into a thing.
Yeah, and I think it's important to like recognize what the feeling, what's coming from that, you know, like, why do you feel jealous? Why do you feel bad? Why is this such a negative feeling? And so I was happy to have that moment of like, oh, I'm not weird about it. Okay, good. That's one less thing I have to worry about.
we can truly all be involved and all fucking chill and like be friends and drink and shit.
Yeah, I had a great, I forget who I was talking about this with, but I was, you know, we were talking about the idiom, like, you know, the rising tide rises all ships. And we were talking about it in reference to Dungeons and Dragons specifically, and I was like, well, the problem with Dungeons and Dragons and that idiom is that they're simultaneously like drinking all of the water. You know, it's like so there's more water coming in, but there's not, like, it's not affecting anyone else. But when that's not the situation, like, you know, I'm talking to somebody right now about, you know, God, I'm talking to like 3 people right now to be on the podcast that I'm like losing my mind over. People keep saying,
oh, hell yeah.
People keep saying, I'll say like, oh, I want to get this person on the podcast. And then they'll be like, well, you should just message them. They'll say yes. And I'm like, don't say that.
Yeah.
Don't say that they'll say yes, because I'll do it. And then I do it and they say yes. And I'm like, you have to stop me. Someone stop me, please. Like, let me find a limit so that I understand where I'm at. And then people just keep letting me go. And I'm like, this can't keep happening.
You find me at a point where the Dovecote schedule is pretty fucking empty, and I'm like eyeing some people and being like, should I make this leap? And I just might.
Just do it. Just do it. Like,
Yeah.
if anything, like, please take the fact that they decided to do my Ding Dong podcast, that they will do your Ding Dong podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the final question is the 3 question. On the first episode, I asked my amazing guest, Lovely Star, who her favorite, what 3, I always forget how I phrase this question. What 3 guests she would have on her podcast. And ever since then, I've always just asked somebody, their top 3 something. And I usually come up with it during the podcast, and I haven't come up with anything. So I need to think of something. Oh, here we go. Harkening back to an earlier part of the conversation, Eclipse, who are your top 3 lesbians in media?
Oh shit. Okay. Lesbians in media's. I wish I was more. Actually, no. I do things.
I do things.
I engage in various things. Oh.
I realize I said media, and media could be really broad if we wanted it to be.
Here's the thing about lesbians, that they're often paired. Is it okay if at least one of them is a pair?
Oh yeah, the secret rule of the top 3 is that there's no rules. So if you give me 7, that's how the cookie crumbles.
I can't remember the name of these characters.
When I was interviewing Anna Hollenrake, I asked for top 3 favorite witches, and one of her answer was the Charm Sisters. So
yeah, okay, right. You give them. Okay, yes. Varzia and Maru from Warframe.
Oh, sure.
They are in Maru's Bazaar, just outside of Mars, and Maru kind of just talks normal style, but Varzia will sometimes just say really perverted shit about Maru, and I think it's really cool. Can I find any examples of Varzia gay lines?
Come on, internet search.
Let's see. Yeah, I'm looking at the wiki now.
It'd be weird if you can't find it. Like, live service weirdos love to just catalog every line from a character.
Oh yeah, it's all in here. She's just gay. They're gay. They wanna fuck each other so badly. It's good. Talking about how she was upset that she woke up with all of her friends dead and she had a headache, but because she like was popped out of like a cryopod, but she's like, yeah, but a looker as sweet as Maru, yeah, I can help you forget anything, which I think is really good. I'm gonna point towards fuck. Lesbians in problem is I play so many fucking games that don't have like lesbians. What's her name in I mean, she's not really a lesbian, but she is to me. Armored Core 6, what's the spider lady? What's her name?
Oh, it's been so long since I played that. Jesus.
She's in like not the Institute, but the fucking.
We were just talking about how I need to go back and play more of that.
Oh, Cinder Carla.
Yeah.
Cinder Carla is a lesbian. We don't know this, but we know this.
I believe it.
Yeah, and then I'm just thinking about things that I even like. I haven't finished the new season of Andor, but I do really like Cinta and Vel from Andor. I think they're a really good representation of like a like kind of toxic lesbian relationship.
I get that. Yeah,
Those are
God,
good lesbians. I don't know if they're my favorite. I'd have to like think longer about it, but those are good lesbians.
Those are good. It's a little sticker. Good lesbians.
Good lesbians.
Yeah, that is the fun and horror of the 3 question is like, oh God, oh no, what have I ever thought? You know what?
Yeah.
I feel better about that. The last couple I've asked people that I'm like, these are good questions. This will make them struggle. I asked Lola what their favorite 3 exoplanets are, like planets that aren't in the solar system. And they fucking pulled out a chart. They were like, I got it. It's right here. It's X21.
Awesome.
And I was like, how fucking dare you? How dare you be so prepared? But also I was like, this is really cool. But also I wanted to make you sweat a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the episode. Again, Clips, thank you so much for being on the show. I always appreciate people making time to be on my silly show and come up with whatever silly bullshit comes out of my mouth.
I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you. Everybody, all the links to Eclipse's stuff will be in the description, so you can go check out their itch page. Go follow them on Twitch, so you can follow and keep up with the Dovecoat, whatever social media, whatever, anything like that. Eclipse, do you want to give us one final little outro?
Yeah, I'm DarlingDemonEclipse. You can find my things at eclipse.gay. I am that on Blue Sky as well. You can go to my itch from there as well. Just look around there. I got all the stuff on there.
Just click on stuff. Who knows what you'll find?
Look, you might encounter a creature in there, perhaps. I don't know.
Hang on. Little Eclipse.gay ARG. But that'll be it. Yeah, go ahead. Say bye, everybody.
Bye. Bye, everybody. Yahoo!
How fucking dare you? Thank Eclipse so much for taking time out to be on the show. Like I said during the interview, this is a thing that I basically joked my way into doing, and I was really glad to have her on. I'm really excited to read the full version of SapphicWorld when it's out. Be sure to keep an eye on Eclipse's social media for when the crowdfunding campaign goes live, and it'll probably get retweeted from the show's account as well. You can find links to both of those in the show notes, Blue Sky, web pages, all that good stuff. Like I said at the top, you can also find a link for info to call and protest the payment processors for their action censoring multiple works on itch and Steam. While you're in the show notes, you can also find a link to the 2025 Queer Games bundle hosted on itch. It's a collection of more than 600 items, games, novels, visual novels, TTRPGs, all kinds of different stuff put together to highlight, showcase, and celebrate queer art on the platform. The full bundle is $60, but there is a link available for a sliding scale, so you can buy it for $10 or $20 if you have any financial hardships. But that $60 gets split among over 300 developers and artists, so if you can pay the full price, I strongly encourage you to. That'll be up for another month as I'm recording this, likely 3.5 weeks by the time you hear this. I've got a few fun interviews lined up this month, which may take a little bit to come out, working around scheduling for other people. I'm interviewing a number of people who ran mega games at Gen Con. If you're not familiar, mega games are big old games, games that have, usually, 10, 20, 30 dozens of players with a surrounding storyline that, ties into why there are so many players. They can work together. Things can affect across tables. There's usually extra GMs and extra NPCs that move around that can affect the game and the world. It's a really cool time, and it's a really cool evolution of the sort of play table of the TTRPG to see it expanded to everyone in a room. Now, those will come out when they come out, because I do want to make sure that if I'm interviewing people that have crowdfunding campaigns active, then you're hearing those while those are still active. So it could be that some of those get bumped out. I don't know. We'll have to see how it goes. But I'm very excited to do those interviews, and I hope you're excited to check them out. As always, you can follow me and the show on Blue Sky and Instagram at mattcaulder and at whatchadoinpod. Now I'm going to finish this up and go do some reading. But until next time, take care.